Welcome to episode 2 of Social Proof. Karine is going to be our guest today. Karine, we've known each other for a while, but can you give people a 10-second background between Slope and Assembly?
Yeah, totally. So my background's in marketing in mostly startups and tech. Started Slope 5 years ago is a creative agency doing a lot of brand and marketing for startups. Had the idea for Assembly, which is a modern social media management platform. Really came from working with a bunch of clients and realizing all of the current solutions that just suck and there should be better solutions for marketers. So yeah, started Assembly and have been really lucky to have honestly a lot of the cool tech companies. We'll talk about social proof, Mercury, Beehive, et cetera, using us today.
Oh, yeah. Can you walk me through some of the early acquisition behind those logos? Verbatim was an early user and we're big fans of the product. But walk me through how essentially your go-to-market motion, how you got in front of some of those logos. Was it your network? Was it the content that you're putting out?
Yeah, I feel like 0 to 1 or 0 to 0.5 for any startup is always a whole mix of whatever you can do and whatever works. So it's kind of a mix of the network, a mix of definitely content. I definitely say the network I had within marketing really helped. I pretty much talked to every marketer possible. So I talked to, I don't know, like 300 marketers before I even started to even validate the problem and the solution just to make sure it wasn't just my problem. But those initial early conversations honestly just led to a lot of really warm leads when it came to actually having that MVP. And luckily, some of the early customers like Tido really helped honestly kickstart that early go to market. I'd say after we got our first 10 customers, we started to post a lot more on content. I mean, I've been posting on LinkedIn for a while now, but really focused around sharing more about what Assembly does, what features we have, really helped also kickstart some of that early go to market, at least getting people excited about what was Assembly even solving.
Yeah. So from the outside, I see obviously on-site content. So you got testimonials, you got logos and social proof, and then you also have some case studies as well. And then on socials, I see you distributing some of those assets and at the same time just posting a lot of kind of like a mix of product marketing as well as some thought leadership. But zooming out, if no one had seen your content before, walk me through all the content that you're putting out right now and the strategy behind it.
Assembly manages content for a lot of teams. So the way we think about content is very first and foremost in a marketing calendar view. And so when you think about strategy, right, you have maybe 4 weeks, 2 weeks, however you want to plan it. The way we think about it is really if you have, let's say, 10 days to post content, what are those core content pillar buckets we want to hit on? That might be thought leadership. That's definitely one bucket for us. One bucket is sort of customer testimonials, and then bottom of funnel, definitely more on the product features level. When we think about that distribution and what those percentages look like for us, right now, at least, Assembly is still book a demo based. So we do have more top of funnel, mid funnel focus, just because from a features perspective, we honestly spent the last year really working on the product. And so wanted to do more brand awareness and try to touch more people just to let them know, hey, this is what Assembly is. These are the cool people that are also using the product. But I think as we launch self-serve in a couple of weeks, we'll definitely see that sort of shift as well. But definitely from a bucket perspective, I'd say thought leadership in the form of interviews similar to this with some of our customers, how they use the product, both agencies and in-house marketers, and then a lot of case studies and testimonials to share why Assembly is better than whatever they're using today.
For an early stage go-to-market motion specifically, I feel like that's when social proof is the most beneficial, just has the highest ROI, especially when you're just getting started like Assembly or zooming out like seed series A, maybe late series A as well. Talk me through your experience with social proof in real time of leveraging testimonials, leveraging case studies, and just how you saw it play out to get to some of the bigger logos that you're working with now.
Yeah, I think social proof was definitely the highest ROI piece of content for us. I think, especially in the startup world, you learn this from YC and early on. If people around you are using it, you kind of want to use it too, because I think as a startup, you're very nimble. You can choose what stack you want to use. And if you're using that software, I think a lot of other companies want to say, like, hey, I was an early user to this as well. And so there is this interesting network effect if you hit a certain target demo. And you see this definitely within e commerce, which was definitely like an e-commerce tech is one area of companies I think we work with a lot. We definitely see this with B2B SaaS. That's another one. And then even specifically within that dev tools, even for example, as another category. And so I'd say social proof is really helpful, especially for us. And it's probably the highest ROI content. just because, yeah, marketers want to use what other people are using. But I think in general, mimetic desire is kind of what marketing is built on.
Yeah, I think especially for marketers, there's something about ad tech and marketing tech space that mimetic desire is even stronger. And so I think especially if you're building in that space, it's all the more important.
Totally.
I'm curious, if I was running a seed stage company and I just raised $3 or $4 million and I was in B2B, let's say in the MarTech space, and you were advising me and maybe you'd invested in me, what content is the lowest hanging fruit? What should I start off testing across socials, across long form, across emails, everything under the sun? What is the low hanging fruit that you're recommending that I test right away?
The lowest hanging fruit that we see a lot of founders have a lot of success with and perform really well is personal stories. I think, especially when product is still in the works, albeit it's probably not the best product in the world, obviously just started building. I think the things that really resonate with people are, why did you start building the company? What gave you that unique perspective or POV? Why should that company exist, or why are you in this X industry? Maybe you don't come from the industry. So I think a lot of the personal stories is what I recommend companies and founders start posting about, but then obviously sprinkling in a little bit of, here's our product / more of a CTA driven kind of content.
Got it. So lead with personal stories to kind of pull that authentic element. And then once the product gets to a point, then start layering in product marketing, feature releases.
Yeah.
Has anyone done it really well that you've been impressed by? It could be founders themselves or the company as a whole.
I can name probably a bunch of companies. Marty from Pylon is one of our customers and uses Assembly a ton. He posts a lot on LinkedIn. I'd say he's done really well on LinkedIn, sharing everything from personal stories, fundraising, sometimes SaaS announcements of, hey, what stacks are people using? The second one is Andy Cloyd from Superfiliate. He is also an Assembly customer. They do a great job. I think specifically, I really like his SaaS analyst kind of breakdowns.
They're great.
Yeah. And so I find them really insightful. And he obviously shares a little bit more about the team and the company as well. So those are two off the top of my head that I would call out. But there's obviously a bunch that do a great job, whether it's your classic linears of the world, even Airbnb now with some of their more recent updates.
Great. On the flip side of that, what are the most common mistakes you see around content? Live example is sometimes when we're kicking off with a new company at Verbatim and they haven't done anything yet. They're not doing any socials. They're not doing any social proof. They have nothing. They come in and they want to do these evergreen pieces, thought leadership about the industry. And I'm like, that is the worst thing to start with. You have no social proof on your site. You have no core product marketing on your site. You're not even activating socials yet. Why would you start with that? So I'm curious from your lens, I'm sure you see this all the time, especially with clients at Assembly. What are the biggest mistakes people are making consistently?
I always hesitate to say something is a mistake because sometimes, as you know, in marketing, it's always about doing something that's a little bit different and it might unexpectedly work. But I think if I had to call out common mistakes, I think content is one of those things that compounds over time. And I think trying to seek that early ROI is obviously something that everyone wants to do and try to attribute, like, hey, how many sales did this drive? How many whatever did this drive? But content is just as much about brand and brand building and awareness as it is strict performance marketing ROI. And so I'd say one of the biggest mistakes we see people make is early on, they're just starting out and they want to see ROI on every piece of content, down to refreshing a piece of content in the analytics every couple minutes. And I think that's often just a really hard way to get started with honestly anything, whether it be content or other forms of marketing.
Agreed. It's so funny. Sometimes I'll talk to founders and they'll bring up the same issue that when we ship a piece of content, they run through 20 different analytics that we can track. And I think attribution is really important, especially for larger contract sizes for B2B companies growing really quickly.
Totally.
Conversations at a demo or post demo booked. Where was the source attribution from? There should be source attribution baked into your CRM. HubSpot, Salesforce, basic ones have these. But at the same time, if I'm talking to a founder and I say, okay, the last movie that you watched, what was it? And I'll say, okay, it's the new Spider-Man in theaters or something. How many touch points do you think you saw before you actually went to go buy that? And if they actually think about it, it's probably a couple different texts from a friend. It's probably Rotten Tomatoes once or twice, or maybe they saw it in the paper or they got an email about it. And then they probably saw like 5 billboards about it and 10 Instagram ads about it. And again, that's a much lower purchase than a $100,000 SaaS contract.
Yeah.
And they still needed 20 different touch points or 10 different touch points to make a $20 purchase, let alone a $100,000 purchase. So when you frame it like that, again, content can be 15 of those 20 marketing touch points, but sales may actually get the close, which is not a bad thing. But I hear that time and time again with content that, again, it's just it's a complicated attribution conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love that example.
I'm curious, we only have a couple minutes left, but at Assembly right now, so I know you're doing social proof content. You're doing a lot of thought leadership on socials, and then at the same time doing a lot of product marketing, specifically on socials as well. What do the next kind of phases look like that you're interested in testing? Could be different channels, could be different content formats, different types.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things I'm really excited to start building out is more resources within Assembly. We recently soft launched, you probably wouldn't know about it because I've only posted about it once, but we have a viral post library resource where every week we're trying to basically aggregate top posts that we've seen and start to syndicate that into LinkedIn posts that you should have seen last week. And that is categorized by everything from industry to does it come from the founder posts to is it a dev tool company or not, or B2B SaaS, e-commerce tech, et cetera. And so I think just making some more buzz around some of our resources, but have that be an ongoing place to just learn more about content that can work and not is one that I'm excited and bullish to test and try building out.
Love it. All right, we can wrap there because we're running out of time. But Karine, where can people find you, and where can people start getting started with Assembly?
Yeah, you can find us at assembly.marketing, and then you can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter.
Amazing. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.